All right then. Okay, let's get into the movie review for this week. And the movie again, the theme for this month is Irish. Um, and the first movie for review is The Quiet Man, starring John Wayne and what's that chick's name? Maureen O'Hare. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right, Maureen O'Hare. Uh, let me give you all a quick little synopsis. After accidentally killing an opponent in the ring, boxer Sean Thornton leaves America and returns to his native Ireland, hoping to buy his family's homestead and live in peace. In doing so, he runs afoul of Will Danaher, who long coveted the property. Spitefully, Will objects when his fiery sister, Mary Kate, begins a romance with Sean and refuses to hand over her dowry. Mary Kate refuses to consummate the marriage until Sean retrieves the money. What a gold digging asshole!
Oh boy. Okay, so I want to get this first point right off the bat because it's.
Right,
I like John Wayne.
The floor is yours. The floor is yours.
I like John Wayne a lot, and we kind of had this discussion about how, like Sylvester Stallone, right? He has like a certain there's a lane that of acting that he is in,
Mm-hmm.
and he is, God, he's great at that in that lane. John Wayne has the same thing though. There's a certain lane that John Wayne goes in.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is not that lane.
Right. I think what is it? They describe this movie as like a romantic comedy.
So yeah, that's the one thing. It's a romantic comedy.
It's a drama romance, but but towards the end, it feels more like a romance comedy.
It has elements of all. It's dramatic romantic comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, it was based off of a Saturday Evening Post article.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like this is. I like this movie, but this is not the lane for John Wayne.
Right.
Because if like of all the characters, he was extremely out of place. He felt so out of place in this whole movie.
Right. I mean, because John Wayne is John Wayne. It's not. John Wayne doesn't ever play a character. He plays the character as John Wayne.
Exactly.
The way he kind of like saunters into a room, the way he says his lines, and that's very unique way of his speaking. I think one of the greatest examples of this was when he played Genghis Khan, but he still sounded like a rancher from Oklahoma.
Yeah, that was the other one. I was like, he does not belong in this role.
Mm-hmm.
Not because like he's not Mongolian, but it's just like because there's other actors that can kind of pull that off.
Mm-hmm.
Not John Wayne though. Sorry, I love, and like I said, I love John Wayne. I think he's a great actor when he's in his lane. He's not a multi-dimensional actor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Just like previously with Sylvester Stallone, he has a specific lane, or there's people who have like an entire freeway that they can inhabit, but Sylvester Stallone is definitely a two-lane highway.
Yeah, it's this.
Because because you have like the Meryl Streeps or like the Robert De Niro's, who again are like 8-lane freeways. Or 8-lane freeways. they could they could flawlessly and seamlessly weave in between the lanes, no problem. But you have Sylvester Stallone, or in this case, you have John Wayne, who are basically two-lane dirt highway, back roads.
Right, and it's like, and not I'm not trying to piss off John Wayne fans. Is like I said, I like
Right, I
John
love
Wayne.
the
I
Duke.
think
I love the Duke too, in
yeah,
my own
exactly.
unique way.
And I actually like this movie a lot. I actually like this movie. I just think it could have been better with someone not John Wayne as the main character.
Right, and someone maybe who could slightly affect a northeastern accent.
Yeah, because
Just, I mean,
it
because
is
again, yeah,
true that
because he's
because he is
yeah,
an
because
American. He was born in Ireland, but he was raised in America.
right, but
And
a
he moved.
specific part of America, which is the Northeast, Pittsburgh specifically, I believe.
Yeah,
And so you can't have someone who talks like a ranch hand say that he grew up in Pittsburgh. It just
yeah,
doesn't. It just doesn't. It just doesn't work.
exactly.
I mean, yeah, if he wants to be like the doggy punching, hard ass Marine type character, yeah, go for it. All in. I'll bring the popcorn. But but you want me to believe that John Wayne is this Irish immigrant raised in America, but he talks as though he grew up in Oklahoma, even though you say that he grew up in Pittsburgh. I'm gonna call a foul on that.
It just, it just it if the entire film it was just it was distracting. That's the thing that was like that kept bugging me about the movie. It was distracting.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it was trying to put a square peg in a round hole the entire film.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, absolutely. Um, um,
Now, I'm pretty sure what they were going for is because at the time, John Wayne, woo, that's an A-lister, and
right.
because the rest of these people, like, I don't know who any of these other actors
Yeah, the
are,
supporting cast. It's I had a hard time placing them.
and and I'm sure they've done a bunch of other stuff that I just don't know about,
Mm-hmm.
but this movie was a nominated for a bunch of awards. I think it won Best Director and Best Cinematography for that year. But God, it was
And
just it.
actually, and I'm gonna
But
agree with
I
that
think
assessment.
the reasoning because I think was because of the name recognition. Like people went out to go see the Duke. That's why people
Right.
went to go see this
Well,
movie. It's because of him.
right. But in terms of of them winning for kind of these technical things, I think I'm for that. I'm picking up what they're laying down. Um, because there are some scenes. I mean, yes, this was early '50s, and so they were still utilizing that kind of crappy blue screen. Um, to kind of to
Yeah,
maybe fill in some of the shots that that they weren't able to do, or the tracking shots of the actors on wagon or on horseback or whatever. But there were very lovely shots that were done, and you could tell they were done physically in the location and at the right time of day, and it was just and it was very beautiful, and it was and it was and it seemed very contemporary, and so I completely wholeheartedly agree with that award that they were given for best cinematography. Um, but being as it was still made in the early '50s, and pretty much it's still in the rough period of Hollywood. Yeah, they used those awful blue screens where they projected like the scenery behind them and had that harsh light that came down and was like not realistic at all. Um, but other than that small little gripe, I completely agree with the them when I have no problems with them winning Best Academy for Best Cinematography.
But yeah, it was God, it was John Wayne was like distracting in that film. I think had it been anyone else, someone that could maybe better play that character,
Mm-hmm.
it would have made the movie 100 times better. But like I said, I understand why you want to put like people aren't going to see Shawnee O'Connor play Sean Thornton. They want it's like, oh, John Wayne's in this, cool, like it's and they probably snookered a bunch of guys to go watch this movie. It's like, fuck, it's a chick flick.
Yeah, it's the perfect girlfriend movie. It's like, oh yeah, guys, let's go watch that new John Wayne movie. Oh, John Wayne, absolutely. And the girl's like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah. Oh boy.
It's like that episode of The Simpsons where it's like movie night and Homer picks Paint Your Wagon.
Yeah. I was just gonna mention that. Oh my gosh, yeah. It's like, damn it. Oh boy. It's like, oh, Lee Marvin's in here. He can't get through a scene without killing somebody, and then he just starts singing.
But yeah, I mean, I think I did enjoy this movie. It's gonna sound weird, but I really enjoyed the wholesome quality of this movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. It is when you look at it, it's like this is a movie. Well, it was set in the 50s, but it's even like the setting is like you think back in like the 20s or so, in Ireland. And this,
Mm-hmm.
I think this the village name is like some made up name like Innisfree.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a real Irish village.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it is it's telling a story of a bygone era.
Mm-hmm.
Because people don't talk about like this is extremely old fashioned living and thinking.
Right. Um, you say that, but I think it's they might say that it's too simplistic of a lifestyle. I just think it's like it's just simple. It's
Yeah,
like they have these protocols and these rituals and these traditions, like that horse race that they have. That was a village tradition. They got everyone together and they had a good time. They placed bets. And there was and it's able to be used as a contrivance to get two people together. Um, yeah, it was just simple, and everyone knew how the world worked. Even if it was like their small part of the world. Like you had like the whole scene with what's his face, that drunk cabbie guy, Michelin. Yeah, Michelin.
God, that guy was drunk like every scene. It's
Right. Uh, Anyways, yeah, but he was like the village
yeah, Michael.
matchmaker, and
Yeah, he was essentially the town chaperone.
right, yeah, he was a town chaperone, village, you know, uh, kind of courtship negotiator. He was the mediator to like that you had to go through, like who brought the two parties together and kind of hammered out like the agreement, the the terms of the courtship and yada yada yada.
Right.
Right, and he also played chaperone to make sure that the woman was kept her virtue and all that kind of stuff. And as old fashioned as that may seem, it's also pretty great because it's about like the entire community takes uh uh has an investment in two people coming together.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just like, oh, like, yeah, let them do whatever they want as long as they're not bothering me. It's like, no, here's two people from our community that want to come together, and we want to make sure that it's a success. Because if it's not a success, then it's going to fracture the community. So
right, and
we
that's
want
not
to
something that.
make damn well sure that this is a right match.
Yeah, and that's something that I think is kind of missing today because it's kind of that idea. It's like, oh, it doesn't, when we like think of something like this giant city that we live in, it's like that would never happen here just because there's just too many people.
Right,
But
and even in our like respective, I guess, like our own kind of version of villages, the small cities that make up Los Angeles, and like even just like the valley, like you live in Van Nuys, and and I live in Chatsworth, and it'd be like if everyone in Chatsworth got up in my business about who I wanted to date. Like if I had like a
yeah,
neighbor that lived like two doors down, and like the entire population of Chatsworth got involved in my affair. It's like, oh well, you two kids, we both know that you're great. We want to make sure that you guys are a good fit, and that you're going to add to our community and not fracture our community. That it'd be kind of like that.
yeah,
Which I
and I
mean,
think
which
that's
a part of me kind of longs for, but maybe not to the scale um, of a small city, but just having like my own community, like like my church community. If I started to date someone at my church, I'm sure they would have like the same. They would play a similar role.
right because it's taking stock, it's caring about the lives of the people within that community and that they are invested in
Yeah,
those people
you're investing a
and that they
stake
want
in
them to
a
succeed
relationship of two people that might already be a part of your community.
because we, especially nowadays, we live in such a fractured society and so
Mm-hmm.
many uh, where it's like you look at something like this and it's like, are we really living a better life
Mm-hmm.
than these people were? It's kind of like how a lot of people would view a society like that. It's like, ugh, it's so old fashioned.
Right.
It's kind
It's
of
so backwards.
talking
It's
out their
like,
high
how can they
horse.
stand it?
Yeah, in the but these are also the same people that are constantly talking about how depressed they are, and they've also been, in 5 different relationships in the past year, and they've been divorced twice, and but
Mm-hmm.
yet they're talking about like, oh, how old fashioned, and how simplistic, and they look down on people like that.
Yeah, it's like it's like that line in Avengers, the first one, when Captain America is being recruited, and he was like saying, like, oh, it's like, oh, the stars and stripes, isn't that a little old fashioned? And one of the agents responds back to him, is like, we could use a little old fashioned right about now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
And so, yeah. I mean, other than that, I really like the supporting characters. Again, Michelini, the kind of town drunk slash chaperone slash courtship mediator. I thought he was great. it kind of played into like all played into all the
Irish
Irish
stereotypes.
stereotypes.
He
But
was short. He had the thick Irish accent. He was
right.
drunk. Yeah.
Well, top of the morning to you, and all
Yeah.
that.
Always singing like these Irish shanties.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and then you had what was it Bill? I guess like the foil to John Wayne's Sean Thornton.
Was Squire Will Danaher.
Yeah, Bill Danaher. Yeah, I love him. How he's like again playing into Irish stereotype, but like the angry fighting Irishman.
Yeah, yeah. It's like he was like literally the Notre Dame.
Yeah, the Notre Dame
Mascot.
fighting Irishman mascot. That's exactly Bill Danaher. Um,
Oh,
yeah, and then Maureen O'Hara, who played the sister to Bill Danaher, Mary Kate.
Mary Kate.
Yeah, it's again
She was
kind of
great
playing
too.
into the stereotype of the fiery Irish woman.
Yeah, she was an interesting character because there's times where it's like you because one of the interesting aspects of this film is you do have uh, two cultures kind of clashing between them, right? Because
What are
you
you talking
have
about? They're all white people. They have one culture.
oh, you didn't know?
No,
You didn't know
You
that?
didn't know. Don't you know? They're all white people, so they all have the same culture. Because they're all
Oh,
white
I
people, and all white people are the same. All white people
oh
are a
thank
monolith.
oh man, thank you for enlightening me. I had no idea.
You're welcome. I mean, as a white person,
Thank
I
thank
would think you know this already.
thank you for teaching me about
Why
my
is
own
the
culture.
yellow man telling the white man how things are in his own culture?
uh, but you do have like an interesting culture clash because you have Sean Thornton who is coming like I said he's coming from this boxing career where his last fight he killed a man, and so he doesn't want to get into another fight, in fear that he may end up killing someone, accidentally, of course.
Mhm,
Um, but it's also this kind of the American spirit where there's no dowry system in the United States,
mhm.
uh, and even at that time, I don't think there was any dowry system that was in place. Um, and you have Mary Kate, who is from this very traditional Irish village where they do have these set structures, and Mary Kate keeps going on about her like, no, this is my stuff. This is stuff it's a part of who I am.
Mhm.
The her furniture and the gold that is like this is me. It's a part of me, and
Right.
if I
This is
don't have
rightfully my stuff, and it's like the idea that she becoming with nothing to offer her new husband was just completely unthinkable to her.
right, and so for Sean, he's saying it's like, yeah, we don't need any of that, like, because he's a well off man, like
Right.
he was a successful boxer, and he outbid the wealthiest man in town by a lot. So it's like he,
Right. It was
he
about
doesn't
like yeah,
even want.
he outbid Bill Danny here by like $400,
Yeah, and
which
that
back
was like
which again set back in probably like late 20s,
yeah.
maybe 30s. $400, that's a lot of money. That's like I think that might be the equivalent of like $10,000 today.
Yeah, and that's a lot of money, especially in that that town.
Hmm.
And it's like, yeah, I don't need your damn money. I don't need your furniture. I'll give you whatever you need.
Mhm.
Um, and what he didn't understand is that it's like, no, no, this tradition is important. This is like, you married me, but you married an incomplete version of me if I don't have these things.
Right.
And it's like, I cannot consummate this marriage until this stuff is given to me
Or like return
and
to me, or
is
restored to
returned to
me.
me. Right. And she kept calling him a coward because like he wouldn't fight for those things for her kid. And so in her eyes it's like, you're not fighting for me,
Hmm.
you coward. And for him it's like, she doesn't realize that like with him it's like, no, he can fight. He's a strong-willed man. He just like, he has a fear like, I don't want to get into another fight,
Right.
because I don't want to kill somebody, because if he, let's say he got into a fight with Will Danaher and killed him, that could kind of crush the village,
Right.
or
Exactly.
cause a huge scandal. Uh, on top of fracturing Sean Thorne's mental state, because he's already killed one man.
Right.
Uh, and so yeah, you have this kind of clash of culture, and you have like, obviously you have the clash of kind of like a rivalry slash feud between Thornton and Danaher.
Hmm.
And it's like I said, it's just a kind of an interesting story, um, and ultimately at the end it kind of, it culminates in the end of everything finally kind of working out. Um, but for throughout the movie, you have this tension between Mary Kate and Sean and Will Danaher, and even like to get the marriage proposal set up, they the whole town kind of fibbed to get the whole thing kind of the ball rolling.
Right.
And when
Because
Will,
like the whole reason why Bill Dana here wanted to buy the land that Sean was wanted to buy is because he wanted to get closer to the lady, the owner of that land, who also happened to be a widow. So
right,
he was trying. He was the equivalent would today would be he was trying to slide into their DMs.
yeah, exactly,
But she wasn't having any of that. And so yeah, during the horse race that the town had, people started whispering into Bill Danaher's ear, saying, "It's like, oh, the widow lady, like, yeah, she likes you, but what woman wants to enter a house with another woman in it?" So they were like, so they were constant, even though it wasn't necessarily true that the widow lady had feelings or inclinations towards Bill Danaher, but everyone in the town started to kind of reinforce that. Although Michelini was, yeah, he kind of covered his ass and saying like, oh, I'm not saying it, but I've heard things, uh,
yeah,
you
very
know.
very sly guy.
Yeah, like even like even the priests were like getting involved, and like they were like covering their asses too. It's like, oh, it's like, I'm not saying it's true, but it might be true. So
Covering their ass, yeah, it's
yeah,
like,
covering their ass. And so um, that's when Bill Danny here changes his mind and it's like, all right, yeah, you could have my sister. And then I think, yeah, after the wedding, he makes his grand announcement, declaring his intention to begin courtship with the widow lady, and she's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" and throws a drink in his face, essentially. And then that's when he realizes that he's been tricked. So he refuses to release the dowry for his sister, which then causes the 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 aforementioned strife between Sean Thornton and his new wife, and basically new fam and his in-laws, the Danahears.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, obviously it ends up culminating in this very, very comical family feud, which it's like, man, it's sounds like a little bit like my family. Just constant family feuds, people fighting in their front lawns. Uh,
Right, wife beaters being the usual attire.
yeah. But it was everything like that fight was it's kind of like the typical like fight between guys. It's like they found out that they actually highly respect one another.
Right. Yeah,
And
that was another thing. Yeah, some people might view that scene and be like, oh, that's toxic masculinity. It's like, no, that's just masculinity. Um, sometimes you have to beat the crap out of somebody before you become best friends.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, particularly for men. I mean, that's just the way. Like sometimes it does come to physical blows. But then afterwards, you end up becoming best friends, or sometimes it's just like verbal. You sometimes verbal sparring, where you just kind of like trade insults with each other, and then you're like, hey, this guy's pretty funny. Like this guy's pretty funny too. It's like, let's be friends. Okay, that's and again, that's just masculinity. It's not toxic masculinity. It's not toxic masculinity. It's just masculinity. Um, but yeah, during like this whole kind of almost like Keystone Cops kind of fight, where it's like just like all like wide ranging over the entire village, and they actually take a drink break at the bar. Um,
Yeah. They're getting drunk, they're punching each other, they get drunk some more, and it's
mhm.
like they end up going back to Sean Thornton's cottage, and they drink some more and have dinner. It's like so. It's
And isn't it
and they kind of
hilarious that isn't it hilarious that what is it? Mary Kate seemed the most turned on when Sean was like, like, cook my dinner, woman. Kind of being like
yeah,
that very like kind of having that like authoritative volume to his voice. Like he
yeah,
dragged her 5 miles from, like, sometimes literally dragging her 5 miles from the train
from the train
station
station.
to go and fight her brother, and then it wasn't the finally when they got there is like, I'm gonna, I'm, it's like, and he calls Bill Danaher out, and then she's like, she gets like all like, all moist down there, not to be too crude. Um, but she when she finds out that he's fighting for her honor, essentially, she's like, again, she gets, a little wet down there, and all of a sudden she's like, oh, I'll have supper ready, and then off she goes running to go make supper for her man.
Exactly. And yeah, it was just it's a fun, quaint movie.
Yeah, quaint. That's a very good word for it. It's a fun, quaint movie, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, despite all the flaws that we had mentioned previously with like the casting of John Wayne, and some of the technical things like them using like the blue screen, but overall it was still such an enjoyable movie, and you might and it might be a bit nostalgic, and like kind of like the dictionary, or not the dictionary definition, but the more colloquial understanding of the word nostalgic, and longing for what wasn't.
Yeah.
Um, but in this world where women's happiness is at like all time lows, anxiety and depression are way up. Here's a movie about a simpler time with simpler rules, where just everything made sense. and and yeah, and if you want to say that I'm nostalgic, longing for something that never was, then yes, call me nostalgic. Um, it's better than like all of like these kind of nihilistic and pessimistic kind of stories that we get nowadays. Um,
Right.
uh, uh, yeah, there's this movie that I really enjoyed. Don't get me wrong. Three Billboards in Ebbing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that movie, but the ending was a bit of a downer. And there's no like real kind of put a bow on it type of feel to it. And I'm not saying that that movie had to have that, but it just goes to the point of how how bleak and nihilistic the point of view of our society is these days.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah, it's there's something, like I said, there's something to be said to a movie like this where it's just like it's sometimes it's nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just nice and it's enjoyable. Yeah, this is is it old fashioned? Is there's are some of like the technical things a little outdated? Yeah, but still, a completely enjoyable movie.
I don't know, I felt good after watching the film. Like, yeah, it's you didn't feel like it's like oh, that was kind of sad, or it's like, yeah, it's an okay movie, but like no, I actually felt like good after watching this.
Yeah, I mean, you felt like you felt like this optimism, you know, where it's like where you almost felt like you could have something like that as well.
Yeah.
I mean that's how I would describe it. I don't know if you would describe it the same way, but
Yeah, no, I think that's a great description of it.
let's give our ratings and we'll close it out for tonight.
All right, sounds like a plan to me. You want to go first, Andy?
Okay, I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna go knife's edge. I'm gonna say 2.5.
You're gonna go 2.5.
Yeah.
I am gonna go with 3. Despite uh, despite the distracting John Wayne performance, um, it yeah, I don't know. I just something about I like this movie. It's like I said, I felt good after watching it. It's kind of it gives you a look back on what good traditional values may have existed, at least in some point somewhere in time,
Hmm.
because I know, like, this is there are times where there are these towns that exist where, like, this is what happens. Like I said, no town's perfect, obviously.
Hmm.
um but I think it would be kind of nice to you'd have some semblance of that in some way. um so obviously it gets you thinking about that type of stuff. And outside of the John Wayne's performance, which it was a good John Wayne performance, it just didn't belong in this film.
Hmm.
um the surrounding cast was great. It's like a lot of Irish stereotypes, but it was great. um I liked all the characters. I thought the scenery was nice because I think they did film this on location in Ireland.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know. Overall, I thought it was just a fun film. And if you're looking for something that's it's not quite a romantic comedy. It's a little bit of a drama. Um, yeah, this might be the movie for you. Like this, if you're into those type of films, this is your movie. And if you want to see a fun, you know, drunken bar fight at the end, this is your film.
Absolutely. All right, there you have it. That's our review of The Quiet Man. I give it a 2.5. Robert gives it a 3. Um, I would still say that we recommend this movie. If anything, just for a jolly, and if you just want to see like the most ridiculous fist fight in probably cinematic history, then
Oh yeah,
yes,
this is your
this
film.
is this is the movie. This is the movie for that. So yeah, do yourself a favor and check it out. Try not to get too distracted by John Wayne's accent.